The arena kill and the ancient law, the arena was filled with noise. Thousands of alien voices cheering, screaming, and laughing. It was a great day for the people of the Velkar Empire. Their champion, a tall, muscular alien named Therax, was about to fight a human. The aliens were sure of one thing: the human would die quickly. High above the arena, in a golden viewing box, sat Princess Virea. She wore a silver crown and long purple robes. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with pride. Therax was her champion. He had never lost a fight. Today he would crush the human and bring more glory to House Velkar. Across from Therax, standing quietly in the sand, was Captain Dax, a human. No armor, no helmet, just a black uniform and a cold look in his eyes. He held a short blade, nothing more. The aliens laughed at him. "This human is stupid," one shouted. "He'll die in seconds." The horn sounded. The fight began. Therax charged like a beast. His twin axes swung fast through the air. Sand flew under his feet. But Dax didn't move. He waited, calm, still, watching. When Therax was just 3 steps away, Dax moved. No one saw it clearly. 1 second Therax was running, then the next he was on his knees. A red line appeared across his chest. His eyes went wide. Blood sprayed from his mouth. Then he split in 2. His body fell apart, cleanly cut from shoulder to waist. The arena went silent. Princess Virea stood up, her face pale. Her champion, dead in seconds, cut in half by a human. It was not possible. But her eyes had seen it. Everyone had. Guards ran forward. Dax raised his hand. "Stop," he said. His voice was not loud but firm. He pointed to the royal box. "I challenge the House of Velkar," he said. "By your ancient law, I have killed your champion. That means I now own what he protected." The aliens gasped. Some shouted, "Lies!" Others looked afraid. But Virea knew the law. Long ago, in times of war, alien houses protected their leaders with champions. If a champion was killed in open battle, the victor became master of the house, even over the princess herself. Her fists clenched. "You don't know what you're saying," she said. Dax looked up at her. His face was full of quiet anger. "I know exactly what I'm saying," he replied, "and so do you." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, with a wave of her hand, she said, "Take him to the palace." Hours later, Dax stood inside the throne room of House Velkar. The princess, her handmaids, and the court nobles surrounded him. The walls were covered in gold and glowing crystals. Alien guards stood ready to kill him at her command. "You are now master of this house," Virea said coldly. "By law, you own me. You own my handmaids, you own this palace, but do not think for 1 second that I will serve you like a slave." Dax didn't smile. He looked around the room, calm as ever. "I didn't come here for power," he said. "I came for truth and revenge." He walked slowly up to the princess. The guard stepped forward, but she raised her hand. They stopped. He leaned in close to Virea and whispered something only she could hear. "You killed my brother." Her eyes widened. She said nothing, but her hands began to tremble. He stepped back. "I will not hurt you," he said, "but I will take everything you built, everything you thought was yours. I'll rule it better than you ever could." The handmaids looked at each other. Some were angry, some were afraid. One, a younger girl named Lena, looked curious. "He doesn't act like a conqueror," she whispered. "Maybe that's what makes him dangerous," said another. Princess Virea took a deep breath. "Then so be it," she said. "You are now master of House Velkar, but do not expect loyalty. You will have to earn it." Dax gave a small nod. "Good. I prefer honesty." That night the arena was quiet. No cheers, no lights, just silence. And in that silence a new story had begun. A human, now master of an alien empire, with enemies all around him and a past full of blood. But no one, not even Virea, knew the full truth of who Dax was, or what he planned next. Alien Court. Human master. The throne room of House Velkar was colder than it looked. Made from black stone and ancient crystal, it had stood for over 1,000 years. No outsider had ever ruled here. Until now. Captain Dax stood alone at the center, surrounded by glowing alien eyes. Alien nobles whispered among themselves. Their faces were sharp, their bodies tall and thin like blades. Their skin shimmered in blue and violet. They didn't speak his language, but they didn't need to. Their hatred was clear. Princess Varaya sat on the second throne. The first throne, her father's, stood empty, cold and silent. Her silver crown still shined, but her pride had cracks now. She was no longer untouchable. She watched the human with silent rage. This creature, this savage, had taken everything in one strike. But Dax didn't enjoy his victory. His face was still unreadable. Calm. Like a soldier on a long mission. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't celebrating. He was waiting. Later that night, Varaya's handmaids gathered in the royal chambers. The room was full of whispers, fear, and questions. There were 7 of them, each trained to serve, spy, and sometimes kill. But now, they were bound by the law of conquest. They belonged to Dax. Lena, the youngest, looked out the window. "He hasn't touched us," she said softly. "He hasn't even looked at us." "Don't be fooled," hissed Raline, the oldest maid. "Humans hide their plans behind silence. He's planning something worse than chains." "Or maybe," Lena replied, "he's not what we were told." They went silent when the door opened. Dax entered, alone. He looked at each of them, his new concubines by alien law. But there was no hunger or cruelty in his eyes. Instead, he said, "You're not mine. I don't believe in slavery, but I need allies. The right to rule was given to me by your laws, not mine." They didn't reply. "I didn't kill Therax to take your house," he continued. "I killed him because he helped murder someone I loved." He turned and walked out. Behind him, the maids looked at each other with confusion. "Lies," said Raline, but her voice wasn't steady. Meanwhile, deep in the palace dungeons, a dark plan was growing. In a shadowed hall below the arena floor, alien nobles were meeting in secret. Their faces were covered. Their voices were hushed. "He is dangerous," one said. "He defeated Therax. He'll defeat us too," another whispered. "The princess must pretend to obey, but we must strike from behind." A vial of black liquid was passed from one hand to another. "This will kill even a human." The next morning, Dax was served tea in the garden chamber. It was a quiet place, full of silver-leaf trees and glowing birds. He sipped slowly, and stopped. He stood, looked at the cup, then at the maid who had brought it. Lena. She froze. His eyes locked onto hers. "You didn't poison this," he said calmly. Her lips trembled. "And no. But someone asked you to." She nodded. "Do you know what this poison would have done to me?" "No," she whispered. "Neither do I," he said, and placed the cup on the table. She fell to her knees, tears in her eyes. "I didn't want to do it. They threatened my family." Dax crouched beside her. "You have a choice," he said. "You can be their puppet, or you can help me stop what's coming." She looked up, surprised. "You're not angry?" "I've seen worse than betrayal," he replied, "but I reward honesty more than fear." He stood and walked away. Lena looked at the cup still steaming on the table, and for the first time, she felt shame. In the royal chamber, Varaya read an old scroll. It spoke of the law of flame, a secret rule hidden from outsiders. It allowed a princess to reclaim her house, but only by blood or bonding. Her fingers tightened around the scroll. Was she willing to marry a human to reclaim her throne, or would she kill him first? Her thoughts were interrupted when a glowing message arrived, sealed in Earth's military code. Dax was not acting alone. Someone from Earth had sent him to infiltrate the Velkar Empire. Her eyes narrowed. "You're no hero, Captain," she whispered. You're a weapon. That evening, as the stars turned purple in the alien sky, Dax stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Below, the people of Velkar watched him in silence. They did not cheer, they did not bow, but they did not attack either. Something was changing. Viraya joined him, standing beside the man she was forced to serve, but beginning to understand. Why are you really here? She asked. Dax didn't answer for a long time, then he said, My brother was a peace ambassador. He came here under treaty. Your father tortured him. Your champion executed him in this very arena. I came to return the favor. She said nothing. Her heart beat faster. You could have killed me, she said. Why didn't you? I don't kill unarmed women, he replied, even if they're queens. Then he looked her in the eyes. But I will break your empire. Deep in the city, in a hidden chamber beneath the soil, a shadowy figure watched the stars shift. He wasn't human. He wasn't alien. He was something else, something older, and he smiled. The human has taken the bait, he whispered. Now let the galaxy burn. Poison and betrayal. The palace of House Velkar glowed under the alien moons, but peace did not live within its walls. Behind, the silk curtains and golden halls, secrets were growing like poison in the dark. Dax had won the throne, but not the people. Not yet. He was surrounded by enemies in elegant robes and smiling faces. Nobles bowed in the day and plotted his death by night. Even the maids who served his meals walked with quiet feet and hidden eyes. And someone was going to try again. Thukkum. Second poison, it came in a fruit bowl, a bright blue fruit sliced perfectly. Sweet smell, sharp seeds. Captain Dax didn't eat it. He handed the tray to a guard. Give this to the court dog, he said simply. The dog was dead in minutes. Word spread fast. Someone had tried to kill the human again. In the royal kitchen, 2 maids were taken. One screamed her innocence. The other said nothing. Dax entered the dungeon later, quiet and calm. The one who had screamed now cried softly. The silent one just stared at the wall. He spoke only once. I will not punish the wrong person. Tell me who sent you. Silence. Dax turned to leave. That's when the silent one finally spoke. You were supposed to be a message, not a ruler. They didn't think you'd survive Therax. He turned slowly. Who are they? But she only said one word before biting her own tongue. The circle. Blood filled her mouth. She died before she hit the ground. The circle. The name was new to Dax. Not Earth, not Velkar. Something else. He returned to his chambers, thinking, planning. Viraya stood by the window, watching the city lights. Another one dead? She asked, coldly. Yes, he answered. She looked at him with narrowed eyes. You make enemies faster than you make allies. I don't care about allies, he replied. I care about truth. She stepped closer. Truth is dangerous here. He nodded. Good, so am I. Beneath the throne that night, Dax asked to see the archives, a hidden library beneath the palace. Only the ruling family had access. Now, by law, he could enter. The chamber was deep underground. Carved from obsidian and bone, it felt like a tomb. He walked past shelves of glowing books, alien memories stored in crystal. He stopped at a section marked Conflicts, Human Species. There, he saw it, a file labeled Project Sunder, a human file. Hidden in an alien vault, he opened it. What he read made his blood turn cold. Project Sunder years ago, before peace between humans and the Velkar, there was a secret plan. Earth's High Command had selected 10 human soldiers to be seeded into alien systems. Not spies, sleeping weapons. Each one trained to survive, wait, and strike when called. Dax's brother Julian had been one of them. But something had gone wrong. Julian refused the final order. He tried to stop the plan. He believed peace was still possible. The Velkar found him, tortured him, publicly executed him as a warning. That was the event that started the secret war Dax now fought alone. Revenge. Dax slammed the file shut. His breath was steady, but fire burned behind his eyes. He wasn't just here for justice anymore. Now, it was personal, but he also realized something worse. Earth might still think he was part of Project Sunder. If they believed he was following orders, they might come to finish the job themselves. He needed to move faster. The broken maid later he found Lena, the youngest maid, the one who had refused to poison him. She sat alone, eyes red from crying. He sat across from her. They tried to kill. "Me again," he said. "Did you know?" She shook her head. "No, I swear." "I believe you," he replied. Then he handed her something, a small crystal. "Read this," he said. "It's about my brother." She touched it. The crystal glowed. Images appeared. A young man in a peace uniform. Chains. Screams. A sword. Coming down. She dropped it, her hand shaking. "I thought humans were monsters," she whispered. "We are," Dax said, "but not the kind you've been told about. Enemies close." That evening, Viraya hosted a court gathering, a tradition meant to show stability. Nobles drank glowing wine. Music floated through the halls. Laughter echoed, but no one was truly relaxed. Dax entered last. All heads turned. He wore no crown, no robe, just the same black uniform he had arrived in. And yet, he held more power than anyone in the room. He raised a toast. "To the dead," he said. Silence fell. "Because they tell fewer lies than the living." Some nobles looked away. Others tightened their grips on their cups. Then he looked at Viraya. "And to the one who still has a choice." She smiled politely, but her eyes were sharp. "Do I?" she asked. "You do," he said softly. "For now." The final twist as the gathering ended, Dax walked alone through the upper halls. But he wasn't alone for long. A voice whispered from the shadows, "You're not the only one who lost a brother." He turned. Raline, the eldest maid, stepped out. Her hand held a small blade, glowing red. "My brother was Therax," she said. "You killed him." Dax didn't move. "I'm not sorry," he replied. "He chose death when he took my brother's life." Raline raised the blade. Then, a shot rang out. The blade dropped. She fell. Behind her stood Viraya, holding a plasma pistol. "She broke palace law," the princess said quietly. "No weapon may be carried without the ruler's word." Dax stared at her. "Why?" he asked. Viraya's voice was calm. "Because if someone's going to kill you, Captain Dax, it's going to be me." The Forbidden Alliance. The palace had changed. It no longer hummed with power and pride. Now it breathed like something alive. Watching. Waiting. Afraid. Ever since Dax had claimed the throne through combat, silence had replaced celebration. The noble houses were uneasy. The servants moved like ghosts. Even the soldiers looked unsure of who truly ruled. And in the center of it all stood two enemies who couldn't kill each other yet. The princess and the invader Viraya walked barefoot through the Hall of Fire, trailing her fingers across the ancient flame wall that had burned for 900 years without stopping. It told the story of her people's rise. Every ruler before her had added a piece of their blood to its base. She wondered, would Dax do the same? She didn't hate him anymore, but she still wanted to defeat him. That was her problem. She didn't know how. He had come for revenge, and instead of burning the empire, he was slowly rebuilding it. Smarter, stronger, fairer. Some nobles were secretly pledging loyalty to him. A few even called him the Flame Bearer. That was an ancient title, a dangerous one. She turned when she heard his steps. Dax stood in the doorway watching her. "No guards?" she asked. "I don't need them," he replied. She smirked. "One day you will." He stepped forward. You're not planning to be that day, are you? No, she said honestly. Not today. A dangerous offer later that evening. Dax called a private meeting in the star map room. Only Viraya and 3 of the maidens came, Lena, Sarah, and Nira. On the table floated a map of the Empire. Dax pointed at several systems on the outer rim. These colonies stopped answering last week, he said. No messages, no patrols, gone silent. Viraya frowned. Pirates? Maybe. But I don't think so. Dax replied. I think someone is removing the loyal houses before they can support me. He looked at her directly. Help me go there. In secret. No guards, no ships with royal banners. Just us. Viraya raised an eyebrow. Us? I need someone the people will follow, he said. They still believe you're their true ruler. I am, she said coldly. Dax didn't flinch. Then prove it. The Forbidden Road, 2 nights later, they left the palace in a stolen merchant ship, hidden by dust storms and static codes. With them were 5 handmaids, each one trained not only in service, but in warfare. The ship was old, but fast. Dax flew, it himself. Viraya watched him from the co-pilot seat. You trust no one? I trust myself, he answered. And maybe Lena. She tilted her head. Why her? She made a choice. She could have killed me. She didn't. And what? About me? Viraya asked. Dax glanced at her. Still deciding. The ruins of Kellen 9, they reached Kellen 9, a mining colony once full of life. Now it was smoke and silence. The streets were empty. No bodies, no blood, just absence. Viraya walked through the ruins with a scarf over her face. Her boots crushed black glass. This wasn't war. It was a clean sweep. Too clean, Dax said, scanning the area. No plasma burns, no bullet marks, not even a struggle. Lena picked up a toy from the dust. They didn't run. They were taken. Dax nodded. Like they vanished. Then, from beneath the ash, they found a symbol, carved into the floor, a circle, surrounded by fire. Viraya froze. I've seen this before. In the Forbidden Archives. It's the mark of the Star Eaters. Dax narrowed his eyes. What are Star Eaters? She turned. To him. A myth. An ancient alien race said to come when an empire becomes weak, and burn it to the roots. The old prophet. Inside, an old church at the edge of the colony, they found something else. Someone. An old alien man. Blind in one eye, sitting in silence. Among broken statues, he stood when Dax entered. I saw you coming, human, he said. I dreamed of your blade before you were born. Dax stepped forward slowly. Who are you? The man smiled. I was a speaker. Now I'm a witness. Viraya moved beside Dax. What do you witness? The old man pointed at Dax. Him, the one from the sky who will split the crown and forge the fire again, the breaker of blood laws, the one who unites blade and bond. What does that mean? Lena asked. The man laughed softly. It means he won't just rule. He will change what ruling means. Then his face grew serious. But the Star Eaters know this, and they fear him. That is why they come now, to erase him, before he becomes more. First, contact. As they returned to the ship, a sound pierced the night, a strange low hum, like bones vibrating. Dax looked up. Shapes dropped from the sky, not ships, not fighters, humans, but not from Earth. Their armor was different, darker, sleeker, marked with the same circle of fire. They aimed plasma spears at the group. Dax raised his hands. Who sent you? One of them spoke, voice cold and mechanical. Captain, Dax, you were not authorized to awaken. Return with us, or be removed. Viraya stepped in front of him. He is under royal protection. The soldier tilted his head. There is no royalty. Only the circle. Then he fired. The battle under ash, the first spear missed Dax by inches. He rolled, drawing his short blade. Two handmaids dove forward, deflecting beams with energy shields. Lena grabbed a fallen weapon and returned fire. The night turned into chaos. Viraya fought like a dancer with a dagger. She cut through one attacker and shielded Dax's back. "You okay?" she shouted. He grinned. "This is more like it." One by one, the enemy fell, but before the last one died, he whispered something into Dax's ear. "Earth doesn't want peace, they want control. You failed your orders. Now they've sent us to clean up your mess." And then he bit down on something and collapsed. Dead. Before Dax could question more. Aftermath. The fires burned low by morning. The team was wounded but alive. Viraya sat on a broken wall, catching her breath. Dax walked over and sat beside her. She didn't speak at first. Then she said, "So, your people sent you here to destroy us, and now they're coming to destroy you too." "Seems that way," Dax replied quietly. "What are you going to do?" He looked at her, eyes tired but full of resolve. "Build something stronger than both of them." She looked at him for a long time. Then softly she said, "Maybe I'll help you." And for the first time, they didn't feel like enemies. They felt like survivors. Earth's hidden agenda. The sun over Kellen 9 was slow to rise, and when it did, the sky bled red. Captain Dax stood at the edge of the ruined colony, looking into the empty distance. Smoke curled from the earth. Ash drifted like snow. His blade was still red from the night before. Behind him, Princess Viraya approached. Her armor was cracked, her left arm bled, but her eyes were sharper than ever. "Those soldiers," she said, "they looked human, but they didn't feel human." "They weren't," Dax answered. "Not anymore." The secret files of Earth back on the ship. Dax entered his private command codes and accessed a hidden file within the ship's database, one that only high-level Earth operatives could unlock. File: Project Meridian status, active target, Velkar Empire primary. Objective: collapse and replace ruling structure. With human proxy secondary objective: eliminate Captain Dax if compromised. Dax stared at the words for a long time. He had always believed Earth wanted justice, peace, order. He was wrong. Earth didn't want a treaty. It wanted a throne. The maidens change, while Dax sat alone with the file. The handmaidens were changing too. No longer just servants, they had tasted battle, and won. They had seen Viraya bleed. They had killed for Dax, and he had bled beside them. Now they trained in pairs. They learned how to use Earth rifles and alien blades. They wore new armor, black with silver flame patterns designed by Sarah, the quiet one who used to design royal dresses. They no longer bowed. They stood. Together, even Viraya saw it. And something in her stirred. Was this what freedom felt like? The Yao spy revealed. That night, Dax was awoken by the sound of whispering voices. He followed them to the engine chamber. Two soldiers from the flight crew assigned to him by Earth before he left were speaking in coded Earth military English. He understood every word. "He's off mission. We confirm he's compromised. New orders just came. We take him out. Quietly. No public mess." Dax stepped into the light. "Try it," he said. The soldiers froze. One reached for his weapon. Too slow. Dax shot him once in the leg, once in the neck. The other raised his hands. "Please," he begged. "We were just following orders." "So was I," Dax said, "until I found out Earth lies just as well as the Empire." Viraya learns the truth later. Dax gave Viraya the decrypted Earth files. She read every line. She didn't speak until the end. Then she said, "So your planet sent you here to conquer us, same as my father feared." "I wasn't supposed to survive." "Therax," Dax said. "They wanted a quick collapse, not this." Viraya stared at the screen. "And now they see you as a threat." "Because I think for myself." She looked at him carefully. "I'm starting to see why I didn't kill you when I had the chance." A small silence passed. Then she added, almost too softly, "And why I don't want anyone else to." The prophecy confirmed at the next colony. They found a temple built by an ancient race long gone. The walls were covered in faded language and glowing stone carvings. One showed a man from the stars holding a broken crown. Another showed a flame rising from two worlds clashing. Lena translated slowly. It says, "The one not born of flame shall forge it new. His blade shall judge the broken kings. His enemies will call him enemy. His people will call him last hope." Varaya touched the wall with trembling fingers. "It's you," she said. "This prophecy is about you." Dax didn't answer, but deep inside, he knew. The warning from Earth. 3 days later, a transmission broke into the ship's system. A face appeared. Admiral Voss, Dax's former commander on Earth. Her face was hard, her voice like ice. "Captain Dax, you've gone rogue. You've disobeyed direct mission objectives. You are hereby classified as a threat to Earth's strategic interest. Surrender or be eliminated." Dax didn't blink. Varaya stepped into the screen view. "This is Princess Varaya of Velkar," she said. "Your captain saved my people, and he rules by our law now." Admiral Voss narrowed her eyes. "He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet." Then the screen went dark. The fleet arrives. 1 hour later, Earth's ships dropped from orbit, 20 of them. War-class destroyers, armed with weapons strong enough to vaporize a city. Dax gathered everyone in the ship's war room. "We have no fleet," said Sarah. "No allies. We can't win this." Varaya placed her hand on the center table. "Not yet," she said. She looked at Dax. "Let's build an army. Not of soldiers, not of slaves, but of believers, fighters, survivors." Dax stared at her. "How?" "Give the galaxy what neither side ever offered," she said. "Hope." The message Dax broadcast a message through every channel he could. Access, pirate relays, trade networks, even smuggler bands. His face appeared across dozens of systems. "This is Captain Dax, human-born, now ruler of House Velkar. I have fought both aliens and humans. I have been used by my own world and hunted by yours, but I will not die easy." He looked straight into the lens. "If you believe in something more than survival, join me. I don't promise gold. I don't promise comfort. I promise war. And if we win, we build something better." The message ended. Then they waited. The first response. The answer came in silence. Then, one by one, ships began to appear on the outer sensors. Small at first, old, rusted. Merchant crafts, mining rigs, old bounty ships, but each one carried people with nothing left. People who had lost their homes to Earth, or the Empire, or both. People ready to follow a broken man with a sword. Viraya's choice that night. As the stars grew sharp and the first pieces of the new fleet began to dock, Varaya stood alone on the ship's bridge. Dax found her there. She didn't turn. She said, "You could still run, escape. Let Earth and my people destroy each other." "I could," he said, "but I won't." She looked at him. "Why?" He stepped beside her. "Because for the first time I have something to fight for, not just against." She didn't speak for a moment. Then quietly she said, "I'll fight with you." They stood side by side, staring at the stars. Two former enemies. Now rebels. Now something. Orsmo. War of the two worlds. The stars were no longer peaceful. They glowed red now, burning, angry, full of war. From the bridge of his command ship, Dax watched Earth's fleet move across the sky like metal giants. There were dozens of them, clean, polished war machines, each one armed with weapons that could destroy a city in seconds. And on the other side, a collection of broken ships, rusted freighters, and stolen carriers. This was his army. The unwanted, the outcasts, the forgotten. The final message from Earth before the first shot was fired. Earth's admiral sent one last message. Admiral Voss appeared on the screen. Her face was calm, but her voice was cold. "Captain Dax, you were a hero. Now you're a liability. Surrender your command. Release Princess Viraya, and we'll end this quickly." Dax replied with only one sentence. "I'd rather burn." Fire in the sky. And then it began. The first Earth ship opened fire. A laser beam sliced through a rebel frigate, cutting it in half. Explosions lit up the void. Dax gave the order. "All units, scatter and strike." The rebel ships moved like a storm, disorganized, chaotic, but alive. They didn't have Earth's power, but they had something stronger. Desperation. Viraya stood on her own bridge now, commanding a stolen battleship. Her voice was sharp and clear. "Shield the med barges. Use the moons to break their targeting, and someone silence that sniper cruiser." Lena, now in full battle armor, led a strike force inside one of Earth's carriers. She moved through fire and steel, taking down elite soldiers twice her size. The maidens were no longer concubines. They were commanders. Inside the storm, Dax led a boarding mission on Earth's flag carrier, the EVS Titan. He wanted Voss. Not just to win the battle, but to end the lie. Inside the carrier, everything was perfect. White walls, clean air, cold silence. It reminded him of his past. It felt dead. His squad moved fast through the halls, but they were ambushed halfway to the core. Lasers tore through the air. One of Dax's men fell. His name was Corin, a farmer-turned-fighter. Dax didn't stop. He couldn't. They reached the control room. Voss was waiting. Voss versus Dax. She stood tall, armored, armed, but calm. "You could have been a general," she said. "You could have lived forever." "I chose to be human instead," Dax replied. She fired first. They fought like lightning, blade versus plasma staff. Her strikes were perfect, cold, trained. But Dax had something she didn't: pain, fire, rage. In one final move, he turned her weapon aside and stabbed deep. Voss fell. Her last words were, "You've broken the system, but now you'll have to rebuild it." The turning point back in orbit, Earth's ships started to fall. Not because they were weak, but because they were confused. Rebel fighters moved like ghosts. Civilians aboard the Earth ships began refusing to fire. Some even mutinied. Messages began pouring through the channels. "We didn't sign up to kill refugees." "Why is Earth hiding the real mission?" "I'm switching sides." The battle turned. Dax returned to his ship, wounded but alive. Viraya met him at the ramp, her own armor scorched. "You did it," she said. "No," he replied. "We did. The price of victory." The stars quieted. Earth's fleet, what was left of it, retreated. Some were captured. Others joined the rebellion. But the cost was high. 3 of the maidens had died. Sarah, the soft-spoken designer, was killed shielding a medical crew. The halls of the rebel flagship were filled with silence. No cheers, no celebrations, just respect for the fallen. Lena wept. Dax sat beside her in the quiet. "She believed," he said, "and she helped make this possible." "She wanted to see the palace again," Lena whispered. "Free. Ours." "She will," he said. "Through us." The throne below back on Velkar. They returned to the royal palace for the first time since Dax had left. It was empty. The nobles had either fled or pledged loyalty through fear. Dax stood before the ancient throne. He didn't sit. Instead, he turned to the side chamber, the Hall of Roots, a secret place beneath the palace. Inside, hidden in a deep vault, was something no one had expected: a living AI core, ancient, powerful, still functioning. It spoke. "You are the first true ruler of blood and bond." Viraya stepped forward. "What is this?" The AI's voice echoed in the walls. "The one who breaks the cycle must decide what rises next." It showed them simulations, thousands, of possibilities for the galaxy's future. Some ended in light, most ended in fire. The choice Dax looked at the holograms. At war, peace, control, chaos. He turned to Viraya. "What kind of ruler do you want to be?" he asked. She thought for a long time, then she said, "Not a ruler, a rebuilder." He nodded. "Then let's start with truth. The galaxy listens." They sent a message across the stars, one heard on both Earth and alien worlds alike. It was not a demand. It was an invitation. A call to every broken world, every silenced people, every forgotten fighter. "This is not a new empire," Dax said. "This is the end of empires. No more crowns, no more chains. We build together, or we fall alone." The galaxy listened, and for the first time, it answered. The human emperor of aliens. The stars had quieted, but peace did not return. Instead, something else came. A silence before a greater storm. Dax stood on the balcony of the Velkar Palace, looking out at a city that was no longer under a crown, but still didn't know how to live without one. Below him, humans and aliens worked, side by side, to rebuild the shattered halls. Flags no longer flew. Thrones stood empty. Orders were not shouted, they were voted. For the first time, the people were choosing what came next, but Dax wasn't celebrating. The Council of Flame and Steel, a new chamber, had been carved beneath the palace, a circular room with no throne, no center. It was called the Council of Flame and Steel. Here leaders from shattered colonies, former rebels, rogue nobles, exiled humans, and freed servants all sat as equals. Princess Virea, now simply Virea of Velkar, sat among them, no longer above but beside. Lena stood behind her, now a general in the new defense force, dressed in black armor etched with silver flame. At the far end, Dax sat quietly, no titles, no armor, just a worn coat and a deep scar on his left cheek. They debated new laws, new rights, new borders. It was messy, it was slow, but it was real. The echo in the void. Then came the echo. A signal, deep, ancient, arrived from beyond the edge of the known galaxy. It wasn't a message, it was a sound, a vibration, one that made every starship lose power for 3 seconds, one that made pregnant creatures go silent in the womb, one that made the AI core beneath the palace scream. Dax was in the archives when it happened. The lights flickered, the air chilled. The AI voice whispered only 2 words: "They're awake." The return of the Star Eaters. The next day, satellites picked up movement beyond the black veil of the galaxy. Ships, but not like anything known. They were alive, not built, but grown. Massive, organic things with pulsing veins and shifting hulls. The legends had been true. The Star Eaters were real, and they were coming back, not for conquest, for correction. Truth buried in blood. The AI showed Dax a hidden truth. Long ago, the Star Eaters had ruled the stars. They created empires, destroyed weak species, and pruned the galaxy like a garden. But when the Velkar Empire rose, and when humanity reached the stars, they saw something they feared: free will, rebellion, unity without control. So they planted seeds, wars, chaos, secret cults. They manipulated both Earth and the Empire. They were behind Project Meridian, behind the old blood laws, even behind the prophecy, not to warn, but to guide the galaxy into war, because they fed on fear. They wanted Dax to rise, so they could erase him. Dax's final trial. Dax didn't sleep that night. He stood alone in the Hall of Flame, staring at the burning wall. Sarah's name had been added to its base, carved by Lena herself. Virea found him there. "You've given the galaxy a chance," she said, "but now they want to take it all back." Dax turned. "They made me, designed my pain, even used my brother." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "That may be true, but you still made your own choice." He looked into her eyes. "Then, I'll choose again." The birth of a new army, the Council voted to fight, not because they believed they could win, but because if they didn't, the galaxy would fall back into silence. Warriors came from forgotten moons, Scientists awoke ancient weapons. The AI beneath the palace fused with a human core, Sarah's final invention, and created a hybrid war intelligence that could outthink anything organic. The maidens trained an army of every race, and Dax became a symbol, not of conquest, but of resistance. They called him the flame between worlds. The battle at the edge. The final battle happened far from any sun. At the edge of the galaxy, Dax led the first wave himself. Virea was at his side. The Star Eater ships moved like nightmares. Silent, shifting, impossible. They didn't speak. They didn't threaten. They simply unmade. Entire ships vanished in seconds. But the rebels fought with more than fire. They used ancient weapons, forbidden science, and the unity the Star Eaters feared most. Lena, now a battle commander, flew her squad into the heart of the largest Star Eater. She never returned. Her last message. Tell him we were never property. We were his family. The blade of choice. Inside the enemy's core, Dax faced the entity behind it all, an intelligence older than light. It appeared as his brother. As Voss, as Virea, as himself. You were never free, it whispered. You were always part of our pattern. He lifted his sword. Then here's something off-pattern. He stabbed the core and screamed, not in pain, in defiance, in truth. The Star Eaters fall across the galaxy. The enemy ships twisted, burned, exploded, then vanished. The silence that followed was not hollow. It was earned. The human emperor of aliens back. On Velkar, a year later, a new monument stood where the throne had been. It was not a crown. It was a sword, broken at the hilt, buried in the stone. Around it, names of all who had died. Virea walked through the halls of the new Senate. No longer a princess, just a leader, and beside her Dax, no longer a captain, no longer a ruler, just a man who chose fire over fear. They weren't lovers, they weren't bound, but they were allies. And together, they had built something no empire ever had. Hope. The twist ending, seeds in the dark far across the void. In a sector where no light had ever reached, a single seed glowed red. A voice whispered, one rebel survived. He made a crack in the cycle. Another voice replied, then we begin again. Let the next rebellion bloom. A tiny child, with silver eyes and a half-human face, opened her hand. Inside was a piece of Star Eater code and a flame.